Well, hello there. I am back, and today we are going to be discussing a topic that is very different from a lot of the content that I cover on my channel. It's going to be about Alexandra Rodriguez, the truth about my father. I used to follow a lot of channels that covered Alex in depth, and I kind of got away from it once she became a mother for my own personal reasons. I'm just not into covering people who show their children, and that, to each their own. Um, Before I get in this video, I also want to say that if I sound a little off or different in this video, it's because after working in law enforcement for a ton of years, anytime I deal with very serious situations, I tend to try to crack jokes or make light of it. And that's not a reflection of like the situation itself. It's kind of that coping mechanism that I built up after so many years of dealing with traumatic situations and really hard things for, years on years, day after day. And I'm going to really try to refrain from doing that. So you might hear some pauses. You might, you're probably going to hear me take some deep breaths. Okay. That's just me reacting to this. And I want to be as real as, possible, because that's why you're here, right? You want my real reaction. Okay. So I'm going to give you a brief summary of what I know about this. I have not watched any reactions to this. I wanted to have my own opinion. I didn't want anybody to influence my opinion. And I also want to look at this from an aspect that a lot of people haven't really talked about, because I have seen other videos, right? I've seen other videos where they touched on this, and I've heard the chatter behind the scenes. I have a few friends who follow Alex very closely, and they kind of keep me up to date, but I don't go looking for this information, right? It's just stuff that I've heard. I know that Honey Bison, another great channel, did a really good video from what I've heard about the letters that Alex wrote to assist in getting her dad off of parole or his parole board. I have not watched that video. Like I said, this topic for me is a lot, and I try not to seek that content out on the internet because it's just not for me, We got to set up our own boundaries, and I dealt with it enough, in my career that that's not something that I go searching for. So, Alex wrote a letter to the parole board in 2008 or 2012. I'm not sure when the first one was, but 2008 or 2012, that makes Alex a lot younger when she wrote those. But the most recent letter was in 2023. So that is where I start to side-eye things. Okay. Let's just get into it, and yeah, let's do that.
Today's video is not easy for me to make, but I know it's necessary. I've always promised to be real with you, and that includes taking ownership of things that are difficult, painful, and deeply personal. Recently, parts of my past resurfaced online, a letter I wrote years ago in support of my father and photos of him at my wedding back in 2021. And I understand how upsetting and confusing this has been for many people. And I just want to speak honestly from the heart and provide the full context. So,
she seems sincere, but I meant to say this at the beginning of the video. My personal view and personal opinion of Alex is that again, I cannot control how people feel about the words that I say, because I'm an adult and I know that. So if I say something that you feel is inappropriate, you have that right. But I'm going to speak about Alex like honestly, here for a second. I mean, well, the entire video. But I've always pictured Alex as the girl whose mother felt like she failed her. And from that moment on, she did everything in her power to make Alex number one, the best, a winner, all the things, right? Pumped her up full of all this bravado and like you're the best and you're the greatest. And I feel like her mom is one of the most toxic people that I've seen online. Every interaction Alex has with her mom is very it's odd. It's like they're two best friends who they're the mean girls. And the things that they say and do and how they act, it's just odd to me. I don't have that relationship with my mom. We don't go around like it. I don't know how to explain it. If any of you are longtime Alex watchers, you know that her and her mother had a podcast, or her mom was on her podcast at some point, and the way that they spoke about other females. Now, granted, this is coming from a person who does reactions to other females, but her mother, the way she spoke about other females was just a lot. And the way that Alex and her mother talk, just in general, there's just this sense of entitlement and fakeness, and it's just ick. And her mother gives me more ick than Alex does. I actually find myself, when I see videos, especially older ones, where her and her mother are interacting, I feel bad for Alex because I'm like, wow, I am so happy that my relationship with my mom isn't like that. It's fine to be friends with your mom, especially as you get older, because the dynamic changes. There's just something off with their dynamic. And I know some of that can come from the trauma of like being a single mother and feeling like it's all on your shoulders and this. There's so many things to say. I'm not trying to just gloss over it and be like, this is it. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. But I feel like Alex and her mother seem like very selfish people. I'll just put it that way. They don't care about the things that they do or say and how they affect the people around them. And I feel like that's okay. Let's just let the video play because I want to see where this goes. I don't want to say something and then feel like, I don't know. Just go.
Starting from the beginning, my parents divorced when I was very young, and my father left my life almost entirely when I was just 2 years old. He moved away and started a new family, and I saw him maybe once a year, if that. He wasn't really a father to me, and his absence left deep emotional scars that I've carried with me throughout my life.
Absolutely. When you lose one parent, there's just no replacement for that, right? You can have a lot of people that love you. You can have a lot of people that are there for you. You can have a lot of good people in your life. But I agree that when that parent is not in the picture, it's hard to fill that void. It's people want a sense of belonging, We long for that togetherness, connection.
Into adulthood. When I was a young teenager, I found out my father had been arrested and sentenced to 8 years in prison for having sex with a 15-year-old. It was horrifying, traumatic, and incredibly hard to process. In the midst of all of that, once he was in prison, he began reaching out to me.
And that is the point. I did not know this was coming. Wow. That is the point right there where your mother failed you. Well, my dad was in prison and he decided to start reaching out to me after, you use the wrong term, it's not having sex with, he raped a child. That's not the right word. You might want to rephrase that. See, downplaying it. There's a lot of downplaying in this story, you know, just like in her letters, there was some downplaying. This is where your mother failed you. Your mother, knowing that your birth father is in prison for that crime, should have not allowed contact, because you, at this time, as you admitted, were still a child. Why are we not protecting children? Even if it's from their own parents. Because the people closest to us are sometimes the worst people, right? The people we think we should be able to trust are the worst people. Why didn't your mother stop him from contacting you? You were a child. Had he stole a bag of chips from Walmart, yeah, call me. Let's reconnect. Hell, there's a lot of things. Had he sold a pound of, the not legal stuff, well, people make bad choices sometimes, as long as there's nothing violent about it. I mean, let's see if we can talk this out and, But this, your mother sat back and let him talk to you? You as a child? Are you serious? The girl that he did this to was his adopted daughter. You're his real daughter. Do you think that just because you're his real daughter, he's not going to try it with you? Did your mom honestly think that this was a good idea? I know that people online are, Alex, 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 Alex. That's fine, but Alex is also a victim in this too. Now, her actions after this, she wrote a letter in 2023. That is not excusable. That is disgusting. That is vile. I read that letter way back when someone first pointed it out to me. And there's a line in there, and this is not word for word, but something along the lines of this situation being a blessing in disguise because it allowed her to reconnect with her father. That is vile. But I believe, and that's on Alex, 100%. But I believe a major point that many people are glossing over or looking past, or just, you point it all at Alex. Her mother should have never allowed this man contact with her. He was convicted of a crime against a young girl, and you're going to allow your young daughter, your young impressionable daughter, who she herself has said is craving the attention of her father, who wants to have a father, who has deep emotional trauma because he left her. You're going to let this vulnerable girl talk to that man? That is insane. That is absolutely insane. Okay? I am not going to watch the rest of this video because it's, at this point, my biggest problems with this are the fact that it seems like everyone in the story is trying to, not us people watching, but everyone in Alex's orbit is trying to downplay this. A lot of times families who have predators in their family, or they're victims too, in a way, right? There's a lot of trauma. They want to protect family, but they still know it's wrong. They'll downplay stuff. They'll make excuses. And there's no excuse for harming a child. I've heard, in all my years in law enforcement, I've heard every excuse. I mean, I've heard every justification. I've heard it all. And it's never okay. It is absolutely never okay. Not at all. Going into this video, my expectation was that Alex was going to come in and say, guys, I wrote a letter when I was a young, impressionable, young teen or whatever, and then I wrote a letter in 2023. I have now looked back at both of those letters because now that I'm a mother, I have looked at those letters and discovered that it was all wrong. I should have never written those letters. I was completely wrong in everything I said because now that I'm a mother, I understand what it's like to feel the need to protect your child. My mother should have protected me, and she failed me. I should have set myself aside and thought about the victim in all of this, put myself in her shoes and been more, empathetic, sympathetic, all of the above. I should have understood. But she didn't do that. I know without watching this video, because it's only a few minutes long, she's not going to do that. She said in this video, she wrote one letter. There's two. I don't even want to push play because I know that she's probably not going to talk about it. And that's just going to piss me off even more. Okay? This has been a little messy, so I'm just going to, my conclusion to all this, like the timing for this. I think that Alex is a extremely selfish person who was raised by an extremely selfish mother. Okay? I feel like neither of them understand what it's like to go without. I know Alex's mom was a single mom and they probably did struggle and all that, but I feel like she had a lot of family help. Again, I don't know. I could be wrong. But in their older years, they seem very selfish and entitled. I think that some videos were starting to come out, like especially that honey bison one, and it put some pressure on Alex to speak out. I feel like she would not have said this or done this video had those videos not come out and had people not started talking about it, right? If no one ever knew about this, obviously she's not going to bring it to the internet. I feel like her first reaction, because we know she's selfish and entitled and she can be a brat and she does not want to be told no, her first reaction was to strike all these channels and to put out a warning that use my content and I will strike you. I think that was her initial gut reaction, because Alex's first reaction is never to take accountability. It's always to say, to push back, to be like, you can't tell me no. So I think the initial reaction was strike all these channels, put people in their place, nobody puts baby in the corner. Once she realized that's not going to work, now we're here. And that makes it even worse because I don't want to think that of her. But I feel like that's where we're at. Alex's mother failed her. Big time. Her father failed her. All the people around her failed her. They really did. And I hope that she can look at this situation, maybe go back through the letters you wrote in favor of your father and highlight every statement and say, and try to actually process why that statement is incorrect. Put yourself in the victim's shoes. Put yourself, outside of your own selfish viewpoint and say, what if that was my kid? How would I feel? What if that was me? How would I feel? Instead of worrying about yourself for once, you should do that, Alex. You should definitely do that. Oh, it's a lot. This is a lot. Um, I just hope that people can understand that there's multiple layers to this, right? Alex can be a victim of her family and still do vile, gross things that we can talk about, right? She can two things can be true at the same time. Alex's parents failed her. It's not an excuse for behavior as an adult. It should be a way, this is a time for her to have some accountability, reflect, and change. This is a time for growth right here. It's right now, Alex. It's right now. Put down the Weight Watchers hacks and focus on some actual healing, right? Right? Like, why don't we just actually eat some real food too instead of all this Weight Watchers hacking stuff? It's getting old. It's getting tired. Change your life for real. This is the time, right now. This is the time. Today, I want you to put out another video and say, everything I just said, I was sincere, but I need to do some reflection. And come back when I have a clearer mind with more sympathy, more understanding, and accountability. God, I could go on and on and on because I've seen a lot of people go through situations like this, and you would be shocked at how many excuses people make. And then you'd also be shocked at how strong some people can be, because I've seen it go two ways. I've seen families make excuses, make justifications, try to reason it out so they can keep that person in their family and keep their good name. And then I've seen other families who say, this person is dead to me. And that's the way it should be. When we don't protect children, that's the line for me. Absolutely not. Anyway, yeah, just an overall failure to the children in their lives. Alex's mom, Alex's dad just failed the children around them. Do better for your child, Alex. Please. I hope you do. I think you can. I think you can if you actually hold yourself accountable for, these things. Do better for your kid. All right, guys, that's where I'm going to end it. This is a ramble. And hopefully, if you know more about the situation, like down in the comments, feel free to chit chat about it. I probably won't get into this again because this topic for me hits close to home and it's a lot. Like, no one wants to come to YouTube and talk about this stuff. We come here to let loose, have a laugh, put the pressures of everyday life aside for a minute, right? Anyway, on that note, have an amazing day, guys.